The government says that the public don't like the three strikes law. Is that the case? Let's find out. So the three strikes law was introduced because it was about getting rid of recidivist violent offenders and sexual offenders as well. Basically, it says you can have two strikes, but on the third strike, the full weight of the law comes down. And it's all about deterring offenders. And then if you can't deter them, then you need to incarcerate them. We need to keep our community safe. Now, the government has said that they are going to repeal the three strikes law, which came in 2010. This is what Chris Farfoy, who's the Justice Minister, said in Parliament just a couple of weeks ago.
Public don't like this law, and they gave us that message clear in 2020.
Well, apparently the whole election in 2020 was all about the three strikes law. I didn't know that, and probably you didn't either. But do the public not like the three strikes law? We thought we would find out, and so we commissioned independent polling through Courier Market Research, which surveyed 1,000 people. And the results were very interesting. Here's what they said. The question was, since 2010, New Zealand's had three-strike sentencing law for serious violent and sexual offenders who continue to commit offences. This law removes parole eligibility for repeat offenders and imposes the maximum prison term available for the offence committed for those who offend a third or subsequent time. Do you want the three strikes law to remain or to be repealed? Well, only 25%, that's 1 in 4, want it repealed, despite the government saying that nobody likes the law. Just under half want it to remain. And those 31%, well, those are the ones we need to explain the effect of the law and how it's working. It was interesting to break it down by party vote because if you look at those for versus those against, based on which political party they've aligned with, obviously National and ACT supporters were very supportive of the law, but even Labour Party supporters were more in favour of the law. And even Greens as well were slightly more in favour of the law. In fact, for Labour Party supporters, it was about 46% actually supported the law. So the government seems to be out of touch with the public on this. Now, you're probably saying, well, what's been the effect of the three strikes law? I'm actually producing a more detailed video on this issue because they are calling for public submissions. But look, just a quick summary of what's happened. Basically, since the law was passed, there's been just over 13,000 first strikes, crimes that have deserved a first strike. There's been 640 second strikes. So that means that just 4.8% of criminals have gone on from strike 1 to strike 2. And there's been just 21 third strikes, which means that just 3.2% have gone on to commit a third strike. If you actually look at the difference between the first and the third strike, you know, who's gone on from a first strike to a third strike, it is just 0.16%. So that's very low, and that is very good. But have a look at the statistics around second and third strikers. They have an average of 42 convictions. For third strikers, it's an average of 74 convictions. 91% were assessed as being at high risk of offending. 56% committed second strike on bail or parole or while serving sentence. I mean, some of these criminals were committing crimes in prison. Do you really want them out in public? And 40% have a strike-type conviction from prior to the three strikes law. So it seems like the law is actually targeting the people that we want it to target, the violent and sexual offenders that are repeat violent offenders, the serious crimes. And remember that the categories for you to get a strike are on the serious end of the scale. So it's about targeting those repeat offenders. And as we say, it's not basically chucking them in jail and throwing away the key. It's actually giving them two chances to stop being career criminals. Now, if you would like more information on this, we've just started a website threestrikeslaw.nz. They are taking submissions through until the 7th of January. Of course, everybody's on holiday, so they're hoping that you forget about it, but we'll remind you. But we think it's important that people start thinking about the three strikes law and why it's important. We believe that if they get rid of three strikes law, the only people celebrating will be repeat violent and sexual offenders, because getting rid of the law will do nothing to protect families and communities. And that's ultimately who should be the priority.